You're welcome to the platform with Dr. Ivy. Today, we have a special segment, book review. This is the first of its kind in my platform. I'm passionate about reading, writing, teaching, and volunteering. Those are my hobbies. So far, I've written 2 books with 2 others still in manuscript. They are still works in progress. So far, I've written and published 2 books. We have Better Evening is a biography of Chief Igwe Ogbonnaya Okereke, my father. I wrote it with my 2 younger brothers, Michael Hemilanzo Okereke and Frank Uche Okereke. It's a biography of our father, 1938 to 2016. Our father died in 2016. Now this second one is also written with some contributions from my brothers and a dear friend, Fitness Okereke. She's a friend and the convener of Sis Mentors and African Motherhood Conferences International. She's a close friend. We have some contributions in one of the chapters. This one is entitled Legends Behind the Scenes. Legends Behind the Scenes is a book about motherhood. Here I've written about my mother, that's my mother, Lolo Erimma Igwe Ogbonnaya Okereke. Then my auntie, Hannah Jacob. Then my mother-in-law, Fitness Mercy Okereke. These are the 3 powerful women. Though they are gone, but they made powerful impacts upon my life. These are the 2 books. However, today I'm going to briefly review this one, A Better Evening. This is for another day. Now, A Better Evening is a story about us, our family, about my dad, my mom, and my brothers. What we went through and our strengths and some challenges we had. If you look at the color of the book, it has the orange color of a setting sun and the royal color, the color purple of royalty. And it has a portrait of my father, Chief Igwe Ogbonnaya Okereke. It's a must read for everyone. Now, if you look at the back, you can get a summary of what the book is talking about. I got the inspiration to write this book on the 9th of August 2015 when my dad's house in the village nearly got gutted down by fire. I, with my auntie, his only sister, surviving sister, went to the village to inspect the extent of the damage. I realized that the cause of the fire came from my daddy's benevolence. He had allowed some neighbors to connect my light supply to his house, and the wires heated up and the place caught fire. Obviously, the load that came to the house, the current load, surpassed the capacity of the cable and it caught fire. Now, the pro-social behavior of people from my village, my daddy's village, they all came out and put off the fire. So when I got there, I was so visibly angry why Dad could do such. He said to me, Effie, if you understand the promises I made to God, you understand why I live my life that way. Those expressions struck me and I asked him, Dad, do you know what you actually mean? He said yes. And a time came in his life when he promised God. He said to God, Lord, give me that which men need the most. Let me do the giving. Those words were like ice cold water that drew chills down my spine and my temper was quenched. I sat down and I said, God, do you know that if your life story is written on a book, many people read it and get blessed? That was the beginning of the inspiration of this book. And I told him, I'd like you to tell me your life story so that I can chronicle it in books. There was this idea that was laid in my mind. I've never written a book. I know I write stories, I tell stories, I teach, but I've never written a book. So but that idea just was laid in my heart. And he said, yes, people read about me, about him, and get blessed. So that time never came. We kept on with our daily life, went back home, he was happy. He just said, thank God that this house, the structure is still standing. No matter the damage, my God will repay it for me. I kept on looking at my dad. I've lived with him for close to 40 years. I didn't understand that aspect of him. I saw him as a man of faith, a man of philosophy. with several adventures in School of Knowledge. I saw a different aspect of my dad, and I believed we could chronicle things in the book concerning him. Unfortunately, 7 months later, he took ill and died within 23 hours of the ailment. That night, I got up from my bed after we deposited him at the morgue on the 17th of March 2016, 7 months after that encounter. I got up from my bed. I was so beside myself with sorrow, with grief. I was like, I've lost every opportunity to listen to this man. However, as I sat on my bed, inspiration kept on flowing like river. I picked up a pen and an exercise book. I began to write. I started pouring out ideas that came within me. My grief took over me. I kept on writing. I kept on hastening. I was like, wow, I've lost a golden opportunity. I've lost a dad. That means I'll never ever again see my dad again since he has passed on. That's why one thing I hate about death. Death is an eternal separation. However, if the person was saved and you are saved, there is hope of reunion on the resurrection morning. But if a person is not saved, that's eternal separation. So that day, I kept on writing. I can take my iPad and document things. Gradually, stories my father told me, stories my mother told me while we were growing up, stories he told us as their children kept on flowing ceaselessly. I can sit down and write 4 pages, write a full chapter. I began to conceive the different chapters. That's how this book came to be. I kept on writing. It helped me handle the grief I was faced with. Till at some point, we were able to put together the entire book. I shared the idea with my husband. I was like, oh, how, just the time is so short. Are you sure you're going to publish this book? I just said yes. And I didn't really know how I was going to do it. But I kept on typing. I typed in the laptop, type on my iPad, wherever I'm going, I'll write, type, write, until finally the book stood completed. At some point, I shared the ideas with my brothers. They made their own contribution, edited the book, and the book came as a complete piece. Here we are with the book, Better Evening. The title of the book was drawn from Daddy's expression. He said that his evening will be better than his morning. He was a sickly child when he was born by his mom. His mom had his elder ones that died, and he was so sickly when he was born. The mom lost hope that he would ever survive. However, he was the one that was chosen. He's a child of destiny that God has chosen. And that's how he grew up from sickly boy. He was the only surviving son of his mom. And he grew up and became like one tree that filled an entire forest. One child that filled up an entire home. He was a source of inspiration. He was a very generous man. He was a selfless man, an epitome of selflessness. My dad represented so many things to us and so many things to many people. This book is a 92-page book, and it has 4 parts. 4 parts. I've broken it into 4 parts depicting the morning period of Dad's life, then part 2 depicting his afternoon period, then the third part depicting the evening period of his life, while the 4th part depicted his night period. That's the time he died. Now, there are about 14 chapters in the book, each of them partitioned under the 4 parts of it. We have Dad's philosophies, family values, pets and cars, family tragedies, and then supernatural dimensions in Daddy's life. Then we have his declining health, stories of how he died and how he had a sudden peaceful exit. We also chronicle the legacies that he left behind. He had quite a lot of legacies left behind, which are being reflected in us, myself, my children, and it is transgenerational, flowing over to his grandchildren. This book is a must read and a better evening. He said his evening will be better than his morning. I'd like to encourage you. I actually wrote the book not because I'm an expert, but I poured out my experiences on paper so that it can stand the test of time. We know who we are. You know, history talks about a story of a people. You know where you're coming from, where you are today, and where you're going tomorrow. This book chronicles our history, the much I can remember, because the faintest pain, somebody said, is better than the sharpest of memory. When we have it on paper, our children can read about it. Daddy's friends can read about it, and even people in distant shores can read about it. You're watching my video. You don't need to be an expert to write a book. I had the idea. The beginning point is the inspiration. Then the urge to write, that willingness to write. Then 3, the willingness to be a blessing to people. The easiest way to write is writing from the experiences around you, what you went through, what you're going through, what you're anticipating. You can document it. This book stands as a memorial. It is our history. Our history tells the story of our people. It can give you an identity, where you're coming from, where you are today, and where you're going tomorrow. It will be a piece that we will read, our friends will read, our children will read, our children's children will read, transgenerationally, if Jesus tarries to come. Secondly, it's a testimonial that an idea can move beyond an idea level and come into reality if you put your mind to it and you believe God. There were signs that were speaking contrary to the possibility of this book coming out, but I believed God and I prayed about it. I visualized it. I imagined it. I said, God, I'd like this book to be a souvenir on my daddy's burial day. In 7 months, it stood completed, and where the resources were going to come for the publishing of the book, I did not know. But at the right point, God provided resources from all angles. My brothers, my husband, they all were parties to it. They gave me all the support I needed. They made contributions into the literary work of this particular book. And here it is today. On that very day, we used it as a souvenir on my daddy's burial date on the 30th of September 2016. So I need to encourage you. What is it you're going through? You can actually use it as a tool for transforming lives, for ministering to people. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 4 says that the things we went through are for us to learn and for us to teach others. Paraphrased, what we go through is for us to be comforted, and when we are comforted, God will use it to comfort others. So the things we went through as a family have been chronicled here. This book is a must read. It might not come in the package that you anticipate, but I assure you, if you take your time to study and read this book, you will be blessed. So, what is that experience you're going through? Begin to write about it. Write it in your diary. Think of a title for the book. If you're struggling with it, why don't you ask for the help of the Holy Spirit? The Holy Spirit helped me massively in putting together the book. Whenever I meet up with the writer's block, I just say, I need inspiration. Oh, Holy Spirit, help me. Then He will guide me. I was able to remember things that was not there when it happened. Events that took place in the past of my parents. I put together the stories they told us. And that brings me to one important aspect. Are you telling your children the stories of who they are, where they are coming from? You need to give them the history of the family. They need to know. Because a time will come when we will leave the center stage of life, or our memories might not be as sharp as it used to be. Our children, they are the posterity that we have in our midst. So I'd like to stop here. But the one thing I need to do is to encourage you. Are you going through an experience? Put it down on paper. You don't need to bother about whether you're going to publish it or not. Someday, that book can be picked and will be published, I assure you. Let the author in you arise and be unveiled in the due season. I'd like you to write down your experiences. It might not come as a book. It can be a poem, or it can be a short story that you can use to minister to children or to people going through different things. We might not have bestsellers, but as you start writing, you might toe the line of a bestseller. Don't aim at being the bestseller from the side, because if you try, you might be discouraged at some point. Just write. Seek counsel, even from online materials, or look for people that have gone through this path you're treading, and they will be of help to you. I'd like to encourage you. In that experience you're going through, write down things in your diary. Type it on an electronic format. One day, it will come out in a book, or a poem, or a short story, or a drama, or video, or a movie that can bless lives. Don't waste that experience. Use it as your instrument for change. Use it as a tool for ministration. Thank you so much. Till next month, we will be reviewing another book. This, Legends Behind the Scenes. Remember, we've reviewed this A Better Evening. There are other books I'm going to talk about. I have one I'm writing on, Prisoners of the Past. Another one, Caregiver's Guide. They are still on manuscript. In due season, if Jesus tarries to come, God will give us grace to be able to run the exposition online These books are not in electronic format yet. We have hard copies of it. I'm trusting God that shortly there will be e-copies of the book on Amazon or Kindle, so that if you desire to read our books, you just click and put it on your card and pay, and it will be delivered to you, or you will have it in an electronic format and you explore and be blessed. Till next book review, this is The Platform with Dr. Ife. Bye.